going on, family? How is everybody doing? We're trying to rewind. I'm trying to rewind the time back. So, here's forth, 10 o'clock. No, when I say we, I mean me. Gonna do my best to hit it at 10 o'clock. And maybe if I do that good, I can hit it to 9:45. We're going to try to backtrack, family. I tried to let y'all know sooner, but you know how it is. So, those of you who get here late, you still won't be that late. Okay? So, you'll still be, don't get your whatever you wear into a wad. Don't get a bee in your bonnet. Fam, while you are in here, please take the time to hit that like button. I would appreciate it. Hit that like button. It costs you no monies. If you want to donate, you can go to donatebrown.com, patreon.com/Carnell, or ADOS merch to buy a shirt, right? But hitting that like button costs you absolutely nothing. Subscribing to the channel costs you absolutely nothing. Right? So please take care of that for me. Also, hit that bell if you have not hit that bell, and check to make sure that bell is still hit. Funny thing happened to me on Twitter too. I came across a few people that I know I followed, and all of a sudden I wasn't blocked or anything, but I was just automatically unfollowed. Unfollowed. How? And I didn't do it. They never made me mad, never said nothing out of the way to me, untoward, nothing untoward to me. So I know that something is going on. So just check your stuff. All of the stuff is some fishy business going on. Oh, the feed is stopping. Well, my thing tells me I'm good right now, so I don't know what's going on with the feed, but we're gonna have to keep it pushing, fam, until it all goes down, until the whole house blow down. So, fam, please take care of that for me. That's our business that we got to take care of. Hitting that like button for me. I sure do appreciate you. And for those of you who have not hit the like button, I don't appreciate you. No, I appreciate you showing up. I'm just saying, you know how it is. So, family, you know me. I try not to be disruptive. I try not to be somebody who just frowns on everything. So when this Beyonce, the line is black is king. When all this stuff came out, I left it alone. I said, I'm going to leave it alone. I'm not going to go with my initial instincts. I'm going to look at a little bit of it and see a little bit of it and see if I still feel the same way. I'm going to try to figure that out. Because Beyonce is telling me that this is Mother Africa and we got to all kind of connect. And I'm going to try to figure this thing out for myself. I'm not going to take nobody else's point of view. I'm going to try to see this. And then when I saw it, now let me tell you something. Family. There is absolutely nothing wrong. There are positive aspects of making songs about beautiful brown women, because we haven't had enough of that. I'm not saying that. We have had colorism in this country, which positioned light-skinned people ahead of darker or browner-skinned people, and now is the time for that, right? I have no issue. I have no issue. Well, you know, I have some issues. Necessarily was included. Got a lot of ADOS, beautiful women, but I'm not saying that. Listen, I understand that. So there are positive aspects. I'm not going to debate with none of y'all aesthetically about the artists and the colors and the designs of the dresses. Like Bill Cosby would say, is Bill Cosby in jail? Right? Is he still? Well, anyway, that's my best Cosby impression. I'm not going to design. So I'm not fighting about none of that. I'm not saying that things weren't aesthetically pleasing or whatever. I'm not doing none of that. What I'm saying is, some of the criticisms, because you all knew if you were watching the Twitter like I was, that some stuff was going on. And there was some controversy. A lot of the people in these African countries, because it's not just Africa, we like to say Africans disagreed. No, people in different African countries, there are 54, had disagreements, some of which I agreed with. So you see something like this, right? So let me put this up really quickly so that we can. We had a bit of a disagreement, you know, from some people who said you can show love. You can love Beyonce and criticize the harm her art creates when it appropriates African cultures and glorifies them under black capitalism. I love her so much and want my queen to use her power and status to glorify Africanness rooted in power game against the white gaze. Now, I don't agree with that either. right? But I understand some of this criticism. So here's another, let's just go to another piece of criticism as we have our discussion. Beyonce released a video celebrating African tradition. Then came the backlash. Well, Yvette, what was the backlash? Were y'all paying, let me just see, were y'all paying any attention to the backlash at all? Were y'all paying any attention to the backlash at all? Well, here's some of the backlash. And here's what Beyonce said that kind of got people talking in her Instagram mentions. I believe that when Black people tell our own stories, we can shift the axis of the world and tell our real history of generational wealth and richness of soul that are not told in our history books. Beyonce wrote on Instagram. Now I want you, if you didn't finish reading that, please go right ahead and finish reading. Our generational wealth. Now first, fam, you know you know how we do things, right? How we do things is we kind of dissect things. That's who we are as a group. We're dissecting this. Well, what that means is, let's take the first word. So let's go back to it for just 1 second. Tell our own stories. Now, do you all remember the African writer who said ADOS should not co-opt the story, like Africans need to tell African stories? What was her name? What's her name? Indiche, what's her name, fam? What is her name? She said Africans should tell African stories. Now, when she says Africans, she's not including us. And I agree with her. You're right. I'm not you. The first problem, Beyonce, is you say our. There is no our. And I understand why they accuse you of appropriating, because there is no our. There is only they own that. All the different people in countries and different cultures and tribes, they own all of that. You don't own none of that. So there is no our. So I understand why they roasted you in your own Instagram comments. Now, when I went back, I didn't even see that over there no more. Right? I did not even see that over there. I saw nothing of the kind. It seemed to me somebody can check that she might have taken that down. Why would she do such a thing? Because it made no sense. And there's a second part of this little one thing, and I'm going to move on. Generational wealth. Now, here we are fighting for reparations and all of that sort of thing. And you're talking about generational wealth, of which we have none. We're a wealthless group. We talked about that. And now you're talking about celebrating our generational wealth. Now, what I don't understand is how Beyonce goes from one thing to the other thing. I know that celebrities are built to kind of, especially our celebrities, they don't get to really be artists. They're built to kind of, what's the best word for it? They're built to kind of, social engineering is what I normally call it, to make us believe that wealth exists in a certain way. It's social control. So that we'd be like, oh man, if I didn't do it, it must have been my fault. Because Beyonce's rich. Right? But how do you go from talking to, your previous art was a very different kind of art. You were trying to bring in the Black Panthers, right? You were trying to evoke the Black Panthers. I'm going to talk about the Black Panthers and what the Black Panthers is doing. What is going on with the live not streaming? How many people got a problem with the live not streaming? Well, do I need to go out and come back in? Tell me with a yes or a no in the comments, fam. Somebody said no. Like that little Bugs Bunny, no. I didn't say me. I said say yes or no. Somebody said me. Now see, that's coming in too fast. I can't keep up. But it looks like more no's than yeses. Some people having a hard time and some people ain't. It's too many no's and too many yeses. Oh my goodness. Let me take Beyonce off the screen. Oh my goodness me. Oh, that's about a 50-50 split if you ask me. Listen, I ain't counting nothing. I think that's about a 50-50 split. I do, I don't, I do, I don't, I do, I don't, I do. I tell you what, we'll give it another 10 minutes and see if it starts coming in about right. And if it then God is, yes, And Zarina say no. And everybody's yes or no. Marguerite, what it is? Yes or no? Okay, we go. Well, I don't know what to do. It's a 50-50 split. What do you do when it's a 50-50 split? You know what you do with a 50-50 split? You have to make the call. So I'm going to make the call to stay for a little while longer. Those of you who are not streaming well, if it does not clear up within the next 5 minutes, then you type in there, yes, like in bold letters, because I can't have C. Y'all know I'm half blind. I can't have C, that stuff. Anyway, so we're going to keep it going for right now, and hopefully it clears. If it doesn't clear up, y'all let me know. Okay? All right. And those of you who aren't streaming well, try to like clear your cache and redo that thing. You ain't got to write all that, guys. That yes was too long. Now everybody in the chat just acting up. Have to go get a switch outside. That ain't right. So let me just go back to Beyonce. We're just gonna keep it 5 more minutes, family. If it don't act right, we'll do a part 1 and a part 2. And some of y'all might be doing wrong on the phone. We'll do a part 1 and a part 2 if after like 5 or 10 minutes we still having trouble. But let's just get back to Beyonce really quick. This is ridiculous with this stuff they got going on with the feeds and everything. This is absolutely ridiculous. So let's go back to it. This is where we were. This is where we left off. Now, you was mirroring the Black Panthers, and people told me that you have decided to go a different direction. You have grown into Africanness. So you've come out of this. This is the space that we used to be in, right? Talking about, kind of touching on police brutality and that sort of thing. This is kind of the space that we used to be in with Beyonce, right? This is where we were. All of a sudden, some things have obviously changed, and now we're channeling Africanness. An Africanness that Beyonce doesn't understand. So for those of you who are like me and were like, well, I want to hear what everybody else is saying. Maybe I'm overreacting. We're gonna have to read a little bit of most stuff. And hopefully by then the things will be done, the things that will have cleared up, and we'll have, we'll have some organization around here. That's what we need. So let's just read a little bit from this. Just a little bit, not a lot, family. Because we have to understand what is happening. Beyonce's Black is King. Let's discuss. Now this is very interesting. So let's just read this first. When Beyonce took a speaking role as Nala, the eventual queen, in the 2019 remake of The Lion King, she decided to delve beyond Disney's Hollywood version of Africa. She added a new gospel-charged song, Spirit, to the film soundtrack and gathered in an international coalition featuring up-and-coming African songwriters and producers to join her on a full-length album, The Lion King, The Gift. Now she has turned songs from the album into a film of her own, working with various directors as she did on her visual albums, Beyonce and Lemonade. And so these critics are discussing Black is King. That's what they're discussing. They're having a discussion about this. Now, let me just say this before I go, before I continue. Let me say this really quickly. Let me put this right here so I'll have it. What happens also because of what she's doing in terms of what you've seen there, it's an elevation. It's an elevation of Africanness over Americanness, over ADOSness. So what you have is like this idea that I have to be anchored in some kind of monarchy. And if I'm not anchored in some kind of monarchy where there are kings and queens, I don't matter. So Beyonce grows out of Americanness, which was Black Panther, on top of the police car, police brutality, and grows into Africanness as if like they are the parent and we are the child. You never are equal if you see it that way, and you don't see who you are, who we are, and what we built if we view it that way, right? So let's go to the next quote. And perhaps of The Lion King, what else is this but a restoration of flesh and blood to cartoon landscapes. There are references to Julie Dash and David Hammonds and appearances by the musician Moonchild Sonelli, the model Adut Akech, and the dance hall star Shadow Whale Wale. A motherland connection. I want you to put a pin in that. A motherland connection. A motherland connection. Many a notable Black American has managed amazement in Africa. Malcolm X, James Brown, Muhammad Ali, Nina Simone, her ashes. Beyonce's trip feels like a search for confirmation, a living myth, roving terrain where myths are made. Now, I want you to listen to that part of what they said about confirmation. That's very important. Why, family, does Beyonce need confirmation, and why do we need confirmation? What do you need confirmation for and of? Some beautiful aesthetics, but I'm asking again, what do you need confirmation of and for? What is the meaning of having to sort of run back to the motherland, which isn't the motherland? The mother doesn't sell you anywhere. What is the reason for that? Of having to run back there? Right? So people are telling me YouTube is still choppy. Is that what I'm getting, fam? How many people are still choppy on YouTube? I'm gonna stop and start. Still choppy? Not choppy. Because something's going on though. I won't say some. I got a lot of yeses. So I'm gonna hit it, cut it off. Let me know when y'all are back, fam. I tell you, it's always something. They doing a lot of stuff. Did y'all see that, for those of you who have made it back in, did y'all see that my last video, I think, got like, I don't remember, like 14,000 views. It's a lot of stuff going on. So I can't call it. It's a lot of stuff. I can't call what's going on in these streets. And what everybody's trying to do, I don't know. YouTube has another algorithm. So I don't know. It's all kind of crazy. So I hit it and turned it back on. Hopefully we back in there and everything's all right. If it ain't all right, I don't know. YouTube's going to do what it's due. All right. Now, let's go back to what we were talking about. Let's go get back to the subject of the time and the Pan-African flag and all this searching. Let's go back here, because this is where we got to go. We saw Beyonce talking about the need for confirmation. And see, when you talk about that, what you're really saying is that I'm lost. And so I want you to read this really quick. African diaspora unity, pride, and creative power. Now let me bring this up a little bit. I think there's another line up here. Okay, let me bring this up here. Here's the critic who talks about this. Let me bring this up. The Lion King, The Gift, Beyonce's companion album to the Lion King soundtrack, was a grand statement of African diaspora unity, pride, creative power. It presented modern African voices and contemporary African sounds among the most kinetic productions in pop. Not as exotic guests of American collaborators, but as equals and reinforcing each other. See, this thing, African diaspora, that's fine. Family, let me say something. That's fine. But, you know, one of the problems is, like, we have just started to understand and digest our own story, right? So we don't even have our own story down, and I don't need your story, and your story is not my story. You have this idea, or what Beyonce does and what they all do is kind of set it up in such a way that our creation gets swallowed up in Africa. Somewhere in Africa. So if we create something, right, then, well, no. If we create beats, if we create Little Richard, if we create Aretha Franklin, all the things, all the stuff that, then people say, oh, no. That harkens back to Africa. You created that. because you are a black princess, you are a black queen. You created what you created because you are a queen of Africa. Your heart beats the drum. Oh, that dance you do, that's an African dance. Oh, wait a minute, the way you think, that's African. Oh, everything. And so I don't think we really understand how much this idea that everything we do is African robs us of agency. If everything we do is African, then we never created anything for ourselves. It's just some African stuff in our DNA that allows us to create stuff. That doesn't work, and it's not true. We have to begin to understand that we created something here. And part of what we created here was built out of something very specific. What do you mean Yvette built out something very specific? How many of you have ever listened to, well, I can't say how many because I know, soul, gospel, R&B, jazz? And how much of what we have, how many have you have heard Negro spirituals? How much of that is built out of an oppressive kind of pain that is unique to us? Doesn't mean other people didn't have slavery and suffer their own thing, but that's a unique thing to them. And they have to tell that story. I'm telling this story. So how many of us have suffered a unique thing, and the culture and who we are comes out of that kind of unique oppression that has nothing to do with the continent of Africa? That is not that, we don't acknowledge what we have done and what we have built culturally. And that's a problem. We're not a lost tribe anymore, or at least we shouldn't be. And it is a problem for us to consider ourselves, well, we just a lost tribe. We don't know nothing. We don't have no idea of what's going on. We just got it in our soul from the motherland. We need people. They have real gold in Africa. You see how they wear it? They got real gold. We don't know nothing about that. That's the motherland. At some point, you have to get out of that. At some point. And even at the bottom of this, you see what we were talking about. Look at this line. Remember, language is important, family. Not as exotic guests of their American collaborators, but as equals, reinforcing each other as brotherhood and sisterhood. Listen, we can all be brothers and sisters whoever we want to be brothers and sisters with, right? But the point of the matter is, we're so far removed, family. Listen, we've been here 400 years. We got to stop talking about a motherhood or a sisterhood or a brotherhood that doesn't exist. It doesn't just come out of melanin. It doesn't come out of over 400 years ago. I think we have to understand that there are some bells that can't be unrung. And Beyonce is trying to unring them. And you don't know enough to know that you can't unring that bell. How dare you? Honestly, I'm so you know what made me do this show? This pissed me off. How dare you put this American flag with this red, black, and green stuff? Red, black, and green ain't never showed up for me. Red, black, and green ain't never showed up for me or you. We still living here. We still paving the way for the freedom struggle. That's not my flag. And who gave you permission to do that? Who told you to go do that, Beyonce? Who told you that was a good idea? That was creative genius. That's not my flag. That's not your flag either, Beyonce. And I'm tired of this nonsense. This is ridiculous. This is fantastical. This is the thing you make comic books out of. This idea, this fantastical idea that I'm lost if I'm not anchored in the motherland. If I'm not anchored in Africa, I'm somehow lost unto myself. Do you know how many stories we have yet to tell about each other as ADOS? Do you know how many stories we have, people we have yet to highlight? Do you know how many books we've read even here where we talk about people? And everybody says, oh my goodness, I never even knew that person existed. Oh my goodness, I never heard this story before. I want you to imagine something. Imagine a different world for me right here, right now. I want you to just imagine a different world for me. Imagine if this whole Beyonce video, instead of Black is King, which is stupid because black is a white supremacist concoction and creation. Imagine if it said ADOS is king and the whole video was about us, was about our heroes and our people in the freedom struggle. Imagine that for a second and imagine how much different you would feel if that was the video. If that was the video, if it was anchored in us. And you did some of that before, but you can't grow out of that because that elevates Africanness too, to say I grow out of ADOS into Africanness as a whole, into global Africanness. That's not it either. That's not it either. Get this flag away from me. That's not who I am. That's not who we are. And this is stupid too. Let me just read this. There's still some Lion King material in the Black is King visual album to detail some of its messages, along with bits of lectures that equate kingship with responsible manhood. Beyonce also recites Wassanshire's poetry to insist that on Africa's ancestral legacies and the glories of Black beauty. Other transitions use African traditional music from the Smithsonian folklore recordings, tacitly suggesting the continuity of old and new. And now and then there are glimpses within the music, like a magnificent purple-suited choir joining Beyonce in Sing Spirit a cappella. You know, we really are the only people. We really are the only people who could be sold somewhere and then find our identity elsewhere. We got a whole identity here. We got a whole legacy here. And let me just say this. It's not just that. Everybody who is fighting around the world finds a resource in how we fought here. No, if you want to talk about kings and queens, the kings and queens aren't over there, they over here. We set the path. We're in the belly of the beast and we have been fighting white supremacy and we're still here. We are the kings and queens. You follow me, put a crown on my head. If you want to follow monarchies and stuff like that, put a crown on me. I'm not crowning you. We got soul from over there. That's fine. It is what it is. But once we got here, we fought for our freedom and we still fighting 400 years in. You can learn a lot from me. Put a crown on my head. The crown don't belong. It belongs on ADOS. I'm going to tell you the truth. The way we have fought white supremacy in this country, the crown is here, dear, because we're in the belly of the beast and we have fought and we still fighting. The crown is on my head. I don't need to look to you for nothing. Now, you can have all your stuff. I'm not diminishing you at all. You are worth what everything you're worth. I'm not saying you are less than or nothing like that. I'm not diminishing you at all. You have your own lineage and legacy and God bless you. But you are not me. And Beyonce is crazy as a bed bug for thinking she's just going to go over there and she diminished y'all in a way, just putting chalk on her face and putting y'all in ancestral clothes and stuff like that. What was that? I don't need none of this. And I'm tired of this. And I'm tired of having the conversation all the time, having to say what I got to say. Right? I'm tired of doing it. I'm tired of having to do it. It's too much. It is too much. It is too much how lost we feel we are and how we feel that, you know, how we feel that we're not worth anything if we're not anchored in some kind of African monarchy that we never had any relationship with or to. We were never a part of. I don't think we understand how much of that kind of speaks to our own inferiority. Yeah, I see somebody say, what the hell you... I got people telling me on my phone that, like, my YouTube is not reaching certain regions of the country. Like, it's not over here. We can't get you at all. I don't know what that is, fam, but I got people saying, like, if you're here, I have people from the same area who are texting me while I'm talking to you saying, it's not coming in at all. That's weird. That's strange. It's very odd. It's very odd, YouTube, to not be coming in certain regions. Yeah, somebody says, is there a storm somewhere? Is there a storm somewhere? Anybody know if there's a storm somewhere? The Beehive better leave me alone. They don't want no smoke. What are the, I don't want to stop it again and start again. That's too much, but this is not a good viewing experience. So I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to start and reset the whole internet because I'm tired of this. This is bothering me because there's a lag, somebody said, and it's not working right. This is bothering me. You know, I have standards, family. I have standards. Somebody said something. What did somebody say? Somebody said clear as a bell. Somebody said keep going. So I keep going. Don't worry about it. I'll keep going. I do what I can. But it's some funny business. Some funny business, family. And I know it's acting up because normally at this part of the show we would have broke 2K by now. So I know it's something acting up, keeping other people. I said acting up. Something acting up that's keeping other people off the feed. Anyway, fam, let's get back to it. They just interrupted me. Interrupted my show with their foolishness. Now let's go, fam. I think we have to, because we'll be to the calls before we know it. What time is it? 10:40. Yeah, we'll be to the calls in a minute. It won't be no thing but a chicken wing. Won't be no thing. Listen. I think we have to understand. One thing we have to understand as a group, as a people, is that we emerged. Right? We emerged from slavery a new thing. As ADOS, we emerged a new thing. We didn't emerge an African thing. That's who came. That's not who emerged out of that. We emerged as ADOS. In a new land, in a new country, forging our way. That's who we are. And I don't know how to tell everybody. You know, so much of even American culture is built on top of ADOS culture. When you hear stuff about stealing our music or food or taking our intellectual property, what you have to understand is that means that American culture and not only American culture, but American discoveries is built on top of us. That being the case, American culture, to a large extent, is ADOS culture. We created it. We don't need to hearken back to anybody to help us understand ourselves or help us understand who we supposed to be or who we gonna be. We good. You have to understand that we are good. We don't need no help. We don't need any kind of thing to like, well, that's their culture. We are fine. We don't need a king or a queen. No disrespect. But we don't need your king or your queen for us to be okay. Understand that we are warriors. We have survived and fought here in America. Most powerful country in the world. And America has tried to hurt us and exterminate us, and we have kept coming back. We don't need you to teach us anything. You haven't been what we've been through. You haven't survived what we survived. And we built a whole culture that people mimic around the world. And the same people who mimic our culture and buy our music will tell us we don't have no culture. It's very interesting. And it's a specificity. Let me go to this next thing before I get to. It's just a lot going on, family. It's a lot going on with this Beyonce stuff. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I wouldn't lie to you. And I listen. Before all the art people decide they're gonna call me and talk to me, I don't have any problem with that. I don't have any problem with the little man, whatever his name is, with the snake around his neck. Child, do you? That's your business, and you should do whatever you want to do. I have no issues with the aesthetics of what Beyonce is doing. Carrying the baby, I don't have no problem. I don't have no problem with that. What I have a problem with is other things. So when you get here, I think this is the one. So when you get here, it's very interesting too, when they start talking about, but she shares the screen with African and Black American faces. Dancers, tribal elders, city hustlers, judges in wigs and robes. Right? Hoop-skirted debutantes and their bows. And she willingly lets herself be upstaged by African collaborators. Right? Whose faces her American fans may not have yet seen, like Busiswa from South Africa, Salitel from Karoom, and other people. And that's fine. But here is the problem. When you say tribal elders, as ADOS, we don't have tribal elders. It just is what it is. And so my question becomes, why do you keep hearkening back to a thing and an idea and a place that has nothing in common with us? Like we don't have tribal elders as them. We have grandmama and granddaddy and great-grand. We have that, but not in the sense of what you're talking about. So it's almost as if we have to see ourselves as that. If you don't see yourself as having a tribal elder, if you don't see yourself as having that and being that, then you are not, you know, that's where the real stuff is. The real stuff is in Africa. That's a problem. And I don't know how to express to anybody, Beyonce or anybody else, I don't know how to express how problematic it is to force a connection that isn't there. It's not naturally there. Yes, we have the same complexion because of where, you know, the lineage, because of the like African, and we came here, and so we brown, but there's other people brown too. Mexicans browns and Ecuadorian, South America. It's a lot of people brown. But we never had that connection. And we don't have that connection now. And you're forcing that connection in a way that is extraordinarily problematic, in a way that elevates them as if like that's what is needed. So what is necessarily needed is for somebody else to come in and like sun us. For somebody else to come in and like pat us on the head and be daddy or mama or great granddaddy or great grandmama. We don't need you. We're good. We're still here. And I don't think Beyonce understands what she does when she makes her grew up in the South, right? ADOS mama and daddy. When you take that and you give all that glow to somebody else instead of telling our stories. And I don't think that she understands how problematic that is. I don't think that most of us understand how problematic that is. I'm putting these images up just so you see. I don't think that we understand that we're not represented in this. Right? You're elevating. We haven't been elevated as a group, but you're elevating everybody else. That's another thing. I don't think we understand what we're doing. And let me just say this. I would be willing to bet Beyonce don't understand nothing that's going on in there. Like all this stuff, she don't understand. It's not your stuff. Like, why can't we just be okay with our stuff? With everything that's ours. Everything that belongs to us. All the heroic stories in our communities that have never been told. How come we just can't be okay with that? And say we have a wonderful history in the United States of America. We have fought white supremacy tooth and nail. Beyonce's mother identifies herself as black. Like, I don't even know. I don't know. This is a problem though. And it's a bigger problem, I think, than even many of us recognize. Because look at this from this Variety article, how Beyonce's Black is King takes her embrace of blackness to the next level. Look at this. If Lemonade is about all things African American, then Black is King is about all things African, says Onika Labinet, an associate professor of American Studies and Ethnicities at the University of Southern California. But it's also about Pan-Africanism, this wonderful celebration of the African diaspora that's grounded in the continent. She adds that the film is a dedication to not only Knowles Carter's own children, particularly 3-year-old son Sir, but also all children of African descent. Right? It's a wild time, family. But people, I'm going to go to break because people got, the screen is black. Some people in the chat said the screen went out. So give me a few minutes, fam, and I will go to break and let's see what we see. Let's see what we can find out. Well, we know what, before I go to break, I might just cut it off and cut it back on. This is ridiculous. All right, family, y'all back? Those of y'all who are back, are you back? I just cut it off, so it should be a part of the same stream. It shouldn't be a part of another stream. It should stay the same stream. Good God Almighty, this is a problem. I don't know what's going on. Woo! Cha. Yeah, it's off now, but is it back on? I'm tired of the beat. Is the beehive messing with me? Somebody said I can see it. All right, fam. Let me know if y'all still there. You know I'm gonna stay on my square. I'm just gonna stay here. They can give me 500 views, and I'm gonna still be here talking to whoever they get. They acting up. Ain't it something? Let me get this back up here. Hold on a second. I can't. I'm just playing with the beehive. I don't get a beehive that much credit. I'm just playing. I'm just teasing y'all. I don't get them that much credit at all. I don't. They might be a little bit upset, but I don't give them that kind of credit, fam. I'm just playing. But I'm gonna go to the break for real though, because it's just too much with the technical stuff. It's just too much. So I'm gonna go to break. I will be back. Take a few calls, and we will try to have a conversation. What's up, fam? We are back. Those of us who can watch the show are back. I'm going to the calls. I'm going to the calls immediately. So I am going first to I'm going to 810. 810, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, this is Gerard from ADOS Detroit. How you doing this evening?
Pretty good. How about you?
Have a heavy heart. One of my soldiers that I served with in Florida Army National Guard, he passed away today.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
It
was he ill?
Really hard. No, he died in a car accident. Was hit by a drunk driver.
Oh, that's
the word that I got. Yeah, but that brings me to the whole thing. I'm a soldier, soon retiring, 23 years of service in the U.S. Army and Florida and Michigan National Guard. And I meant to call the other night and speak on this topic. I'm glad you came back around to it in the way, because what I wanted to say was speaking to how, a lot of people in our ADOS people seem to, want to escape and use, Pan-Africanism as an escape hatch. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I see.
Ultimately. And, it's funny because way before we identified ADOS as a lineage, you and Tone did. I remember my mother, I could probably about 10 or 11 years old, and she was saying, really, we're different people, and we're referring to Black Americans, like, we're separate. We never really accepted that term, African American, because, again, we are both African and we have European ancestry as well. I mean, the average Black person has about 30% European ancestry in them due to the rape that occurred, with our people or what have you. And I just find it odd how, from the Hebrew Israelites and all these different, the Moorish Science Temple, all these different groups that want to even go as far as to deny that slavery even occurred. That's the part that just really gives me, this whole thing that there were Africans already here. And, that may be true to a certain extent.
Yeah, it might be.
Go ahead.
No, I was agreeing with you. It might be. It might be. But, my whole question was not that it never happened and not that it wasn't. But there was, even if it did, there was also a slave trade, right? And, we're owed something from that. And, that's always been my, let's focus here. I'm not saying that didn't happen or whatever. I'm not getting into that. I'm saying that, let's focus on something happened to the people who were traded here, though. And that's what I want redress for. So can we focus on that?
Exactly. ADOS Detroit, this past Sunday, we were out there protesting down at the Joe Louis Fist downtown and in front of the Spirit of Detroit. And we were actually made it on the news and was able to get get the reparations message across. It's imperative that we recognize our ancestries here. I did my ancestry.com family tree, and the oldest ancestor I was able to find was my great grandfather, which was born. He was born somewhere around 1812, 1814. After the Second War, that's right around the Second War that this country ever fought. It's really not that hard. And all you got to do is look at the census report in 1870. That should pretty much tell you, if you're able to find your people go back to that time, that they were slaves.
Yeah, absolutely.
More likely than not.
Well, that's what they tell us is hard. It's not hard at all. Honestly, if you ain't even got to go back that far. If you got a great grandparent who is ADOS, that's just it. Right? Because, you might even have a grandparent, because your grandparents, I'm trying to think, my grandparents in the 70s when they passed or whatever. Yeah, you might, because we know from the Black Immigration book who was here and who wasn't here then, right? So,
exactly.
The time we're talking about, we were the only ones here for the most part. The other groups to the right of the decimal point, right? So, we know that that's us. It's the craziest thing that has been done to us is to make us think that somehow Like, this is complicated. This is not complicated at all. It's so easy to figure out. And we've been like, yeah, it is complicated. We don't know who is who. No, yeah, we do. You're a liar.
Exactly. My grandfather was born in 1906. His father was born in 1845. There it is. That tells you right there.
That's it. That's all you need to know. No more research. No more research you got to do. That's when he was born. ADOS. Reparations. That's it. It's not complicated. I don't even know what kind of leaders we had that let people say, yeah, they right. It is complicated. We don't know. Do you know when these people, other groups came here? No. It's easy to figure out who is who. It's easy to figure out who is Nigerian, who is Caribbean. It's easy to figure out. What are they talking about?
Exactly. Thanks for taking my call. I know you have other callers.
Thank you, fam.
I appreciate all the work that you and Tone are doing and waking us up.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate it.
The reparation struggle and being proud of our lineage.
Thank you, fam. Thank you, fam. You have a great one. Thank you. I am going to now, I'm going to 628. 628, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, my name is Marlon. I'm calling from San Francisco, but I'm from Tampa. How are you doing today?
Pretty good. How about you? What's going on? What's on your mind?
I'm doing well. One of the things I generally like your message. I love your book club. I love how you approach the thing intellectually. Mm-hmm. But one of the things I got an issue with is you're saying RBG is anti-African American, and I'm like, that's just simply not true. RBG. I didn't say
anti. I don't think it's anti-African American. I just think it's not my flag.
Okay. Well, I understand that, but you said another thing. You said what it has done for us, and one of the things I just want to say is one of the major things it taught us was God was black, and during that time, that was a revolutionary thing that was done in America. And we've been exporting the ideas. We exported RBG to Africa. It didn't come the other way. You understand what I'm saying?
We shouldn't have. That was awful. We shouldn't have done that then. We should not have done that.
Well, what I'm saying is because the liberation movement we didn't just confine, like I've traveled the world. I've been to many places in Africa, many places in Asia and things like that, and in Europe, and even a bunch of states. And I say that to say we exploit our culture or our culture is exploited. Either way, a lot of the struggle is global, right? We can't run away from it, and nobody's trying to run away from it. But what I'm saying is, RBG, the red, black, and the green, is something from us in order to export to the world, and we're going to keep exporting our fight. You understand what I mean?
What are you exporting though, other than like an idea that like all black people are connected, or all people who descended from like Africans at some point?
Well, we're definitely connected because you can still see traces of the types of food that we eat from in America and in Africa and it's in the Caribbean with things like that. But that's not our big issue. I don't want to focus on that. The main thing I just want to get I guess your audience and you to understand is one of the most important things for us as Black Americans in here in this struggle is that our fight is going to come from us. You can see how we're leading the way just through the protests and the marches and things like that. Mm-hmm. And it is connected. And there's our people trying to connect to us here. Does that take away from our fight? No. Should reparations go to everybody? No. Reparations is a debt, like you constantly say, and I constantly preach the same thing. But it doesn't mean that we're disconnected just because that's part of our fight.
But I think we are disconnected though. Listen, I think most of the countries in Africa are disconnected. Like it's not like they ride on super trains or super highways and visit and vacation with each other all the time. So like they're disconnected too. And I don't believe that our fight is a global fight. I think that's been tried. I think CARICOM will fight CARICOM's fight. ADOS will fight the fight for reparations here. And I honestly think, let me tell you what I believe. I believe the whole world, if you're talking about global liberation for people of African descent, I think that begins with ADOS. I think if the people who
I agree. I'm saying that. I'm saying that. I totally agree. Just like we exported the red, black, and green, just like we exported the liberation movement to Africa, those people came to us to get that information, and we gave it to them. And they went back and they fought. Of course, they got lost in the transition because white supremacy is a global phenomenon. You understand what I'm saying? And we're here fighting in the belly of the, and that can't get lost. But at the same time, there are other Africans that I've met, many of them. Not many of them. I mean, I've met them in my travels. You understand what I mean? Who want to connect to us as African people, who do look up to us as African people in America.
Okay. So that's where the disconnect is. I absolutely, like, we have African people from African countries in the chat, and who reach out to me. I'm not denying that we have allies. That's not the same thing, though, to me at least, as saying that RBG flag means anything. And a lot of them would say the same thing. Yeah, the flag don't mean nothing.
Yeah, we made that, and we made it powerful. The words of the UNI was an ADOS message.
Yeah, but it's not powerful, fam. Here's the thing, fam. Here's the thing, though, fam. It's not powerful. It's symbolic, and it makes people feel good, but it ain't got no power. Like, see, and as much as we talk about America, we're American, though, and the American flag is backed by bullets and blood, right? That RBG flag ain't backed by nothing. It just makes everybody feel good. But everybody has a real country flag. Everybody got a real country flag, and that's your country. I don't care what that flag is.
Well, one of the interesting things about the American flag is, yes, we're trying to get them to. We're fighting for what's ours here. We are absolutely fighting for what ours is here, and we should. Mm-hmm. With that being said, you know, it's that old saying, like, we can't ever be free until we're all free. Of course, I don't agree with that saying. It's a lot of free people walking around and ain't nobody else free. I don't agree with that saying. I don't agree with that. I understand a lot of people say it. I don't agree with it. But yeah, no, I get it. But and also, I want to jump back into it. I know I've been taking up a lot of your time, and I appreciate you giving me the space to talk. Okay. It's my first time calling up.
Okay.
One of the things that I just really want to say is, yes, the American struggle is our struggle to fight because we're here and they owe us, period, point blank. And we're not going to run away from that. Because you can't run to Africa, you can't run to Europe, you can't run anywhere without coming into our same common enemy, right? And if we can unite with that understanding, then we can unite and push forward.
You say what? But because there's a common enemy.
Yeah, we have a common enemy. We all have a common enemy. We're fighting our fight here, and you can't run away from this fight. I 100% agree. Whether you're in Africa or whether in Europe, they're still under colonialism right now to this day. There are no free African countries. Absolutely, because they're all under economic control.
No kings and queens? There are no kings and queens.
No. Oh. I'm not. I don't deal with that kings and queens stuff. I deal with practicality. We're all warriors and soldiers in this fight. Period. Oh. That's what we are. We're warriors and soldiers.
All right.
So,
well, let me just say, but I wish everybody the best in their own particular fights, and I think we can learn from each other and all that kind of stuff. I think we can learn from each other, what work, what don't work. I don't have no problem with that. I have a problem with people not talking in terms of specificity. Okay, this is a specific fight here, and your specific fight. I don't care about specific fight. If the Haitians want to go after the French, I salute them and I will encourage them and do whatever I can to help. I just don't like people to talk about this in terms of it's not specificity. This is a specific fight for everybody. Whatever fight you fight is specific to whatever colonizer or whatever oppressor. In our case, in terms of America and slavery, we all have to fight a very specific fight. And that's why I say, I say it's not global. It's not because I say
it's a global fight, though.
Well, it's global. It's global in the sense that it's happening everywhere, right? But it's not global in the sense that like it's gonna be Wakanda or something.
Nah. Well, it's gonna be what we make it through our struggle. Mm.
Yeah, I agree, fam.
I appreciate you, Yvette.
No problem. Thank you. I appreciate the discourse. Thank you, fam. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's what I believe. It's just what I believe. But I'm gonna try to keep it moving so I can get some of these other calls. I'm going to make sure I'm going to 301. 301. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi.
Hey.
So glad to talk to you, Yvette. And you took the words out of my mouth talking about Black is King. I swear. I talked to my brother, and they were, like, talking about, did you see Black King? Oh, my God. And their baby, she's watching it, and they're, like, talking about how great it was. And I said, brother, wouldn't it be nice to be able to watch that? And it's all, and I said, all us, African who are here, ADOS, here in this country, our music, our dance, our pageantry. And he was like, well, yeah, but we were just taken by the cinematography and the clothes, the costume, all of that just blurring our vision and just losing the specificity of ourselves as ADOS. And he doesn't, when I wanted to say ADOS, and I've said it before, but it's taken some time to really get into our heads, especially when it's thrown into this grand, this grand production as Black is King was. You quickly start to feel like, well, gosh, this is just so happy. I said, yeah, but wouldn't Aretha Franklin, Ella Fitzgerald, all the greats we have right here. Why must we feel like we have to put on some crown that belongs to someone else and put down the shields and put down everything that we have built up right here? I feel like, our greatness has been hidden by the soft power of Hollywood for too long. And then we make mistakes like this by giving away our greatness for the chance to be a African. And it's just it's going to take time, but it's difficult. It's difficult to watch how quickly we can just lose focus and not recognize what what that whole production was attempting to rename us, erase us, and using, the big name of Beyonce right there, leading the parade. So
I think that's true. No, thank you, fam. And I agree with you. I don't think we see it. Like, everybody's like, aren't they so happy? I think I was saying a minute ago, maybe we might have to throw Lion King away, like, because we can't see movies as just movies. Like, other people can see a movie that's set in Asia somewhere, whether it's Japan or China or Singapore, but they can see it and just see that's just a movie. Or they can see a movie, set somewhere in Europe or whether it's Norway or wherever and say that's just a movie. We can't see a movie or it was an animated movie set in Africa or whether it's Wakanda without anchoring ourselves in that somehow. And I don't know how to fix that.
And Hollywood knows that.
Yeah. Yeah, they do.
And Hollywood knows that. That soft power just hits our heads, hits our brains and our minds like a dagger.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Pam. I appreciate it. Yeah, we talked about this before, though, but when people really know how to manipulate you, that's a problem. Like and they know that they can manipulate us through Wakanda and making us kings and queens and the monarchy and wear your crown, and they know that they can really get us with that, and that's a real problem, that we're so easily manipulated with this idea of an Africanness. It doesn't really even exist anymore. You go to the countries of Africa, they're like, some are struggling more than others, right? But you go to their capitals and it's modernized way more than usual, right? And so they're doing a lot of stuff, and there's nobody sitting there on a throne. They're going about their business, going to cafes and stuff. What are you talking about with this stuff? Let this stuff go. Let it go. So I'm going to my next caller. I am going to 314. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, this is Teddy calling from Harlem. How are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
Doing all right. This is my second time calling in. I just think this show is so important, and I appreciate you doing this show tonight. I made a couple of notes. It's just one thing I wanted to say is just AL's identity. It's rooted in such a horrible history that we don't want to identify with that. And I remember there was an interview or a response that Tina Knowles gave online, and there was some pushback, and I believe that pushback is because of the work that you and Antonio was doing. We do see now a difference in response to things like this. Because even if you look at Beyonce's view counts for this, people are talking, the numbers aren't what they used to be for some of her stuff.
Yeah,
So
I heard
she-
Lemonade
so
didn't do
I
as
was
well as
talking-
people said it would do. Lemonade didn't do as well as people said it did. Like I heard that too.
Exactly. And her mom was saying, too, that, you know, after she did that Lemonade album, when she was on, like, when it was very pro-Black American, you know, like, her sales haven't been the same since that. So this is her trying to, you know, like, recover. And so if I can recover by being more global, whatever, you know, my job is to get the bag. And that's the approach that she's taking now. You know, she's going to pull every stop that she can because, you know, people may be saying, you know, we may be looking at the twilight, you know, of an artist. So I just want to say that on that. But when you look at America, though, and I was thinking to myself while you were talking, like, how can we see ourselves in, like, our own vision? How do the artists that we know, our own icons, how did they visualize, like, that struggle? How did they make it real? And I just thought about, like, Nina Simone and how she talked about this backlash and how she made the backlash that we actually saw from our ancestors. She brought it forward in 20th century and talked about, you know, when the rent can't get paid, when the, you know, when the man don't want to pay you on your job or whatever. That's still the whip, the lash of the whip on our back. And we're still doing that today. So Beyonce could have took something like that, I mean, or whatnot. But those are the stories that's been robbed from us. Because, again, when you look at Hollywood, when they do recognize us, when we do get those Oscars, what type of roles are they for? What did Halle Berry get a role, or get an Oscar for?
Monsters Ball, you know what it is.
What did Monique get an Oscar for? What was she
Precious.
portraying? What did Hattie McDaniels get a role, Oscar for? What was she portraying? So there's a constant theme about, well, when we do look at our country, so I get what the previous brother was saying, but at the same time, we have to graduate from that. Like, that was emotional escapism, RBG was for us, because we didn't want to look at Hollywood, because there was this dissonance when we think, yeah, we got the Oscar, but it was for something that was like, you know, the worst of us. But it's being able to look at the worst of us, and like you said, see that resilience. And another thing I wanted to talk about was, you know, how other stuff is going on with your show right now. And I think that, you know, you don't speak to it, and I get why you don't. But I always say obvious statements don't need to be made. We all know what's happening. And again, if we're seeing the push and the ripple effect of this critical mass that's growing in this country. I'm born and raised in St. Louis. And when I tell you that we have now removed a legacy that has been in place for 6 decades in St. Louis, Missouri, Lacey Clay's father held that seat before him.
Yeah.
Lacey Clay's sister made $500,000 just by working on his campaign since he has been in office. You're talking about the calcification of the top 1% of black people. It's in Lacey Clay's house. Because he was beholden to the corporations. He was beholden to the pharmaceutical companies. That's why all of a sudden we start in Ferguson, these outsiders coming in, starting to blow up things, and people say, wait a minute, they're not from here. Who are these people? It was, so what we're seeing is the changing of a guard, but it's a very sensitive time. And I know, like, I'm not in St. Louis right now, but I just know if 8 out St. Louis can make an effort to get their arms or to get, you know, just, you know, like a real conversation with Corey, I think there is a chance. Because just
I heard her say something about reparations, but she said something about the diaspora. So I do believe if somebody's there, they need to kind of grab her and say, no, you're doing it wrong. Maybe you're doing it the way Bernie, because I know Bernie spoke for her campaign a lot. So I think I helped her get licked. So I think somebody said, you pump your brakes, you're doing it wrong. But I don't know anybody around her. Let me know if some of y'all know somebody around her.
Yeah. Because she's definitely, like, again, me being from there, she's Adolf all day. But when she talks about, she understands, someone has to connect the dots and say, this is what it is, and understand, you know, and that message will resonate. And I think that can be, you know, the changing of a guard that at this time is very vital. Because right now, she still has to go up against Republicans in November. But this has put the CDC on notice. This is why, you know, we're experiencing, you know, all of these, you know, whatever's happening, because people are watching. We know people are watching. And the thing is, he thought that he thought he was like Jim Clyburn.
So now Jim Clyburn, Maxine, Karen, all of them, they're like, wait a minute. We not safe no more.
Well, and you know what it is? I'm so pissed off. I got to tell you, fam, I'm pissed off about that for a couple of reasons. I'm pissed off because a lot of times when I see like the Justice Democrats, because it's really a lot of these people are the Justice Democrats against the CBC. And I really would like to have a dog in the race a lot of the times, but I don't. Because like the Justice Democrats are just kind of, a lot of times, I'm not speaking to her specifically, they're just kind of like burners and leftists and just espousing the same things as Ocasio-Cortez, right? And then I have the CBC who's just like, child, why you even here? You listless and tired and old, and you don't do nothing. You don't lead on nothing. I would really like to have something to fight for, but these people are, and I know they're going to get primary, and because they're, if you don't use your muscles, they atrophy. And so these people haven't used their muscles in so long, they're going to atrophy and they're going to get beat. And then my concern is that they're not going to get replaced by something that's better than them. And, we've been trying to make them better, but they've been rejecting us at every turn and doing all kind of wild stuff. Don't make no sense.
We share that concern because when I saw too, this is her second. This is not her first time at the rodeo.
Okay.
She went up against Lacey Clay last term. And she lost. But the game changer was what you said. She didn't have Bernie in her corner.
Yeah.
Now she had a little bit of white capital backing her. But the thing is, when you look at her most recent, interviews and panels and whatnot, and just, from where she comes from in her passion, you can tell that, I looked at her website. It was so carbon copy, universal programs, one side lifts all ships language. I was like, I'm not even moved about this. I'm still telling my family go down ballot. And so I think, but, there is time. And again, it's just a matter of us being out there to make that connection and utilizing our inward ADOS network. Because we know how to get to ADOS who in certain positions and doing certain things. But the other thing I wanted to say was I saw your tweet about Fannie Lou Hamer and how that Arthur is trying to co-opt the narrative, and I think that's another.
Hold on. Let me tell people. There's a new. You can go to it's on my page. It's on my Twitter page. There's a book coming out about Fannie Lou Hamer, and the quote that the author used, who's writing the book about Fannie Lou, was like, what was it? Justice for everybody. Justice.
No, we can't be. It's actually the quote that the other caller said, but he didn't know Fannie Lou Hamer said it. We can't be free until everybody's free.
Yeah. So that's the quote. Now, Fannie Lou Hamer done said a whole bunch of stuff about how white people are and they know what they done to us and they oppressed us. That's the quote that this author led with. And a lot of people commented on something that was true. Like the picture they put up made Fannie Lou look way lighter skinned than she was. Yeah. So let me let you finish up, Carl.
Oh no, that was it. Just how again, I trace that back to nobody was talking about Fannie Lou Hamer until you did that show about the heartbeat, about what Nicole was missing, and so that is a common theme. Every time you say something, like Tone was saying, now they have all these folks talking about the wealth gap, the woman from ESPN Sports or whatever. Why is she quoting Tone's work, but they're not having Tone, the author? I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Don't make no sense.
The other thing that I wanted to say was, I've also been just talking to my family about generational, lineage and whatnot, and we're not that far removed, and like you said, from slavery.
Yeah.
We, like you said, I don't owe you nothing. I mean, the bottom line can be, I don't owe you nothing. My granddaddy was a slave. If you are a millennial or if you are an ADOS generation Xer, your grandparents were slaves, for sure. But they were born into slavery. Just like my mom was born in 53, her mom was born in 1919, her mom was born in 1889 in Houston, Texas. So 1889, your mama was definitely born before 1865. And that's my grandmama's grandmama.
Yeah. You're right, fam.
So when we start thinking about it like that, and then the last thing I want to say is that we have to use our lineage when we start to engage people, especially I would say West Africans in particular, because we now see if you were Ohu or Osu, you were the slave class. And you pretty much, but if you were Igbo or another, or Yoruba, then you were the slave trader. And those are the people who we're interacting with here in America. We're not interacting with those other people. So we need to start asking, it needs to become a part of our daily jargon and whatnot. You know how we make things our own, or who you, are you Osu or Osu, whatever.
Osu or Igbo. What you is? What you are? Okay.
Exactly.
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks, fam. I appreciate it. I appreciate it, fam. Thanks so much for calling in. I'm going to head on to my next caller. Ooh, the calls is lit tonight. Why, I tell you the truth. I'm going to 202. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hello?
Hey, caller, what's going on?
Oh, hi. Your name is Ulina. I'm calling from D.C.
Okay.
I'm calling because I wanted to give a story about my story of like coming to understand of lineage.
Okay.
I came up in an Islamic household, and we didn't really have a full understanding. They teach you about Black history and stuff like that, but there was a lostness that I didn't have a connection to the ADOS lineage. When I got about 22 years old, I started to want to learn more about the Islamic traditions, and then they had a whole wave when I was going into the Islamic community about going back to learn it through going to an Islamic country. And what happened was I got on a plane with my husband at the time and went to a country, and it was a large amount of Americans there who had the same idea that I had. But when you get there and you're a Black person, you realize that you are capital gain for a lot of places that need to have revenue. This place had almost over 20,000 African Americans who moved there, right? And it became an economy. And at the end of it all, I remember people getting sick, not having insurance, not being able to really get boots in this place. And people coming back broken, even their like spiritual connections or their religion. And I remember thinking to myself at the time, like, what is this? And then I started reading more about ADOS lineage, and then it started to make sense to me. Now, what I have an issue with Beyonce is she knows to a certain extent African Americans want to have a connection to their history, but putting a mixed understanding to it will lead people like myself and others to think that there is a relationship and a connection. We don't have any roots in those places. And most of those places, if we get there, there's a capital gain they're going to get from us, and that's about it. You have to be rooted in your own.
Well, let me just say this. Fam. Let me just say, you see a capital gains. I think let me just make it clearer to everybody. When you go to these places, it's kind of like the year return. Do y'all remember the year return? And the Ghanaian lady came on and said, like, listen, they're gouging y'all. It wasn't really gouging though. It's really like you're gonna get treated like an American because you are an American. It's not really even that. It's just like they know you have American dollars, and they're gonna. This is a, they live in a place. They may not have as much or enough or whatever, but you have American dollars, and they're gonna treat you like that. And so the one place you can learn that you are American is when you travel abroad. And even when you go to different countries in Africa, you're American and you got treated that way. You didn't get treated like family. You wasn't no brother, sister, cousin. Nobody brought you in their house. You stayed at a hotel and you paid extra for stuff because that's what happens to Americans. I'll let you finish, fam. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened being overseas. They always told us, when you go out, there's an American price and you catch the cab, and there is the foreigner price and there's the national price. And you felt to a certain extent there is no real root. And it got to become kind of cannibalistic because people wanted to stay because they're there with this mindset, this is the connection to your spirituality. So people started to scam each other. You know what I'm saying? Like the Americans to stay in this space. And I got to a point where I realized it's not going to work. We need to go back and fight our freedom fight in America and start to claim this thing that everyone sees us as when we're in these places. So I think when I watched Beyonce Black is King, I just saw it was like a traumatic experience to me. I saw people online, oh my God, it just makes me be so proud to be a Black. And I'm like, where do you see this at? There's no Blackness in this video. I see a watered down version of some West African cultures. And
Yeah.
So I think that's what I'm more upset with her, is that the idea that there is a connection there and you need to go reclaim it. There is no reclaiming. There's nothing. I did the footwork. I went there. I saw it. I was in an Arab country, but it was still the same result. You don't belong here. And if you want to stay there, you're just going to have to become kind of gutter like the rest of the people who are doing the stuff to you. And it's not right to a certain extent. And then when you realize you have some rights and you know a little bit about your culture, you start to realize I need to go back and do my own freedom fight for my own people. Because around the world, no one sees me as that. So I guess that's my contribution to the conversation. Thank you for taking my call.
No,
I love
thank you,
listening
fam.
to you. Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Have a nice night.
You too. I appreciate that call. Yeah, when you go around the world, there's no other way to learn that you're American and you go to then go to another country and they know you're American. And sometimes that's a really good thing. Like I hear like in there are European countries, it's like, oh, they don't treat you as like a black person. They treat you, and it's awful sometimes for people of certain African countries. And I disagree with that because that's discriminatory. But like they treat you as like American. Not like black American, but like you're American. Oh, you're American. And I don't even know, like I've heard so much from ADOS people who go and don't even know how to deal with that. Because they don't feel American here because of how American oppression and racial oppression works for us. But get treated American elsewhere. There's no better place to go figure that out than to go somewhere else. So I'm going to 240. 240, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, this is Miss V from Prince George's County.
Hey!
Thank you so much. This is my first time talking to you, and I really appreciate getting the time to talk to you. I had a couple of points in regards to your conversation tonight.
Okay.
First of all, I want to say that I'm a Beyonce fan, 100% Beyonce fan, but I understand your point so well. I really do. And my point or my comment to you in regards to Beyonce and the Black King or whatever it's called, I'm sorry, I'm a fan, but I chose not to watch that video because I saw Beyonce's process in regards to learning about who she is and everything about an ADOS, being ADOS as well as a descendant of Africa. And I saw where she was going. I understand that learning process because I too went through that. And when you learn something and you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this information and I want to share it. So you want to share those things. And so my question to you, Yvette, is how do you feel about, and I heard you mention that you don't know or you don't have you may not have the appropriate contact for Beyonce, but reaching out to give her a little bit of guidance. Like I see where she's going, and your points are very valid to recognize ADOS contributions to what we are doing and what we have done versus, watering down the African contributions. But how do you feel about reaching out to Beyonce or her folks to maybe provide some guidance into what she has learned and what she knows? I feel like she's in the learning phase where you learn all this stuff and you just want to share everything.
Well, I mean, if Beyonce want to talk, my DMs are always open. That's kind of how I'd answer that. Like, if she want to have a conversation.
Can you reach her DM?
No, I'm not doing that. I'm done with that. Like, all this reaching out people told me to do over the years and stuff, I'm not doing that no more. Like if you want to, if she wants to talk, I'm open to whoever. I think everybody knows that. Like if you want to contact me, the best way to contact me is through my DMs. If she contact me, if her people contact me, they want to talk, I'm all the way open to it. But I am no longer in the business of chasing celebrities down. I don't do that no more. And some people seem to enjoy the Africanness or whatever. I don't know what they was doing. They was eating jollof rice, and I enjoy jollof rice, but I don't think that's me. I understand that's their culture, not mine. There's a specificity there. But whatever. If everybody do what they do, it ain't going to make no reparations over here. It ain't going to make our life better doing COVID. But if that's what you do, then doggone it, get on it. If you want to contact me, then that's fine. I'm not going to go chase celebrities with Beyonce. You don't understand this. You don't understand this better, Beyonce. I'm not chasing nobody no more. I'm a 45-year-old woman. I don't go around chasing people, honey. You can contact me. We can have a conversation. Pick up the phone. I ain't doing that.
I Understood, and thank you for explaining that. It's always been on my mind because you have so many valid points. I'm like, why can't you just reach out and talk to these people? Why won't folks talk to you? But I understand it and I appreciate it. And I'm just going to leave with this last comment because I have to say this, Yvette. My husband put me on to you. And
good man. That's a good man.
I've been listening to you for the past 3 years, and I just want to say thank you to you and to Tone Talks. You all have opened my eyes. I am absolutely ADOS. My parents are ADOS. My great-grandparents, my grandparents are ADOS. My great-grandparents are ADOS, and so forth. And I just want to thank you for opening my eyes and learning more about who I am, and I am proud to say who I am. And just thank you to both you and Tone. I really appreciate it. Please keep doing what you do. I've seen the back and forth with others. Hopefully you all can work that out. And I've deleted you. I've blocked folks because of their comments about you, because I think that you are a great woman and doing absolutely great things and spreading the message. So thank you very much.
I appreciate you, Fab. I appreciate you. Gotta block them. Tell them you're gonna block them first. I'm blocking. You gotta tell them I'm blocking you. Put my foot in your face. Anyway, you gotta tell them that. But let me go to my next call. Playing around. 214. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, Yvette. This is Karen from Sister Texas. Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. What's going on?
A lot. These were some really, really good calls. I like some quotes from people. One talked about there is what she said. There's a connection, but there's no. She said, going to the country looking for a connection to reclaim when there isn't one. I thought that was an excellent quote. But a couple of things happened this week. I want to touch on the fact that, one, the continent of Africa, not one country in Africa, would have birthed the talent of a Beyonce. So she is not standing on the shoulders of any of those people. So I don't understand why she's even going there.
And it's just unique. It's not saying that African countries don't have talent. They do. This is just a unique kind of amalgamation. Like she said in one of her songs, Mama from, what she say? Mama from Alabama. Whatever.
Mama from Alabama.
Yeah.
Daddy from
I wanted more of that.
Mama from Louisiana.
Yeah. Mixed with that Creole, get that Texas Bama. Sorry. Got it. I like that song.
I love that song too. And I'm like the other caller. I am 100% Beyonce fan. I love Beyonce. I think she's awesome. I think she's one of the hardest working women out there. However, I think she went all the way left on this album. I'm like the other caller. I saw that and I just refused to watch it. I mean, I got the whole Lemonade album and I got albums like that, but I refused to watch that. And another thing about Africa, I mean, if you really look at the culture of Africa for women, I mean, I know there's talent there, but I don't think they have the platform to burst that talent into something great because they're so hard on women in those countries. I mean,
I didn't think about that. I never thought about that. I never thought about that. That's a good point. No, I said I never thought about that, but that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, they're still doing genital mutilation. What is it? I mean, it's something where it's horrible. Like, and then breast ironing. I mean,
not everywhere, but you're right in the sense of like traditional. Like everybody's not doing the genital thing, but traditional expectations, right? And so maybe you don't get to go out and just try to find yourself in that Beyonce, right? Depending on where you live, in which country you live. Yeah, that's interesting. I never thought about it that way. That's interesting to think about it.
And then another thing, so on this Sunday on, I don't know, it was on either KRA or PBS, Susan Rice was promoting her book, and this could have been a rerun, but the first thing she did was anchor herself in AUS. I mean, her first sentence in that interview to whoever that guy was that she traced her lineage back to slavery and talked about her great-grandfather being a slave and what he did to overcome. So I thought that was interesting. She used the very words "American descendants of slavery."
Ooh, did she now? Did she now?
Yes, she said, "I am an American descendant of slavery." That's what she said.
Did she
and I was like,
"Oh, that's something."
All right. Yeah, but I know you did a couple of years ago, or maybe a year ago. You already did like an expose on her, and
No, I don't think I did. I don't think I did. I do rice. I don't even remember. I might have did it and forgot, y'all. I'm getting but I don't even remember doing one on her.
You talked about, because you exposed that her son.
Oh yes,
like
I remember the little. Oh
young
yeah, I remember. Yes, he was a little Republican weird child. I remember. Bless his heart. He was at Stanford or somewhere. I remember now. I remember. Ooh, he's so odd. Yeah, so you're giving birth to like this
Yeah.
Republican like kid, and you're talking this. What is this? What are you doing? Yeah. I remember now. Yeah, that was an odd thing. I remember I shared the picture of him. Odd.
Yeah. And so I was thinking, if she's willing to claim, she didn't say anything about Africa or going back to Africa. She talks about being an American descendant of slaves. So I don't know what Beyonce's doing. And another thing, today on Al Jazeera, whatever, they were talking about reparations, and they were interviewing Hillary Beckles.
Uh-huh. Who that?
And he's basically, I guess he's over his carriage home in the Caribbean.
Okay, now, okay.
And so they broke down the numbers, and they were saying, and so they broke down the numbers. They were like, okay, so according to whatever they said, that the Caribbean slaves is owed about $33 billion. But then they said, the American slaves are owed $12 trillion. And I was like, thank you, but Hillary Beckles did not, when he talked, he did not advocate for the Americans, descendants of slaves at all. In fact, he didn't even mention us.
He ain't supposed to.
Right.
And we ain't supposed to either.
He wasn't supposed to. And he did not. All he advocated for was his people and what Britain owes his people.
So why we can't do the same thing? Why we can't do the same thing? If he didn't advocate, why we gotta advocate for everybody? We can't listen. We cannot carry the world of black people on our shoulders. Everybody of African descent cannot be carried on the shoulders of ADOS. We gotta advocate for ourselves. Why do people keep saying Beyonce is not black in the chat? What they doing? Or not ADOS, whatever. But anyway, we cannot carry the whole world of and it's almost like that's what people want us to do when nobody does that. That's not how the world works at all. This should not, we've had articles and stuff call us controversial. We never should have been called controversial. This is just the way it is. This is the way it has to be. And it's the way everybody else already is. Everybody else already has a country, and they define themselves by that country. You can go to any Caribbean Day parade and see all the Caribbean flags, and I salute you, and I love you, and I'll eat plantains with you. Right? I love them. Rice and peas are delicious.
Right.
What I'm saying, though, is I understand that the lineage you're celebrating is not my lineage. Why is it considered divisive when I say, hold on, and I'm ADOS, and I put my American flag and wrap around me, and they say, we're not the same. Oh, you're divisive. You a lie. You low down dirty dog. That's too much.
And that's all. I have one more point, because I can't see. My internet keeps cutting out on you. So
I know you one of them. They done cut out about 800 people. I'm telling you, in different regions. But go on, fam. I'm sorry.
But over your shoulder, you got that little country of Africa, and you're making it seem united. You need to draw a bunch of crosses through that, because those lines going from top to bottom. Africa is not united. You cannot take a train from the top of Africa to the bottom of Africa. You can't take a train from one side of Africa to the other side of Africa. You can, in America, I can get on Amtrak and go from New York to
But see, that's because we're a country and they're a continent, right? That's because, see, people look at Africa as a country. Yes, we can do that because we're America. But you have countries in Africa that have some development and some have far less. So they can't take trains through the continent because that's not going to work. They don't even have planes that just hop, skip, and a jump. Like, you go to Europe, planes hop, pop everywhere. They have trains that go from country to country. They don't even have that in Africa. In Europe, they have high-speed rail. And I'm not talking about right now why Africa's underdeveloped as a continent. But they have high-speed rails that go from country to country, right? And you can say, oh, I went to France, and I went here, and I went there, and they don't have that. They're not connected. How do you expect us to be connected with a continent that's not connected with itself? It won't work, fam.
Yes.
Thank you, fam.
And this is like, you're trying to make this seem like this wonderful homogenous groups of people.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, fam.
And they don't like each other.
No,
they
you're
don't
right.
Like each other. They got
You're right,
so many
fam. I want to get to.
factions.
Thank you, fam. I want to get to another caller, but you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Thank you, fam. I appreciate
All right,
it.
see you later.
Thank you. No, that's too much division. Like, the continent is divided. Like, 54. You understand how big the continent of Africa is? 54 countries. Yes, it's divided. It's 54 countries, and it's not developed, so you can't take rail. I remember when I went visiting, I said, "Can't we just drive from one country to the other country because they're so close?" And they told me it was bandits on the road and will flatten your tire and take your stuff. I'd never been so flabbergasted in all my life. It's been since I've watched westerns since I heard the word bandit. What is a bandit, sir? People gonna throw something in the road and cut the tire? What is, sir? Anyway, let me go to the next call, fam. I'm going now to 610. 610, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hello, am I speaking?
You speaking, fam? What's going on? How you doing?
Okay. How you doing? My name is Nat. Nat Turner, that's my real name. A lot of people mess up with that. But
Okay.
I want to make a couple points. That RGB stuff, I was into that stuff. Let me tell you, ain't nothing behind that. It's a waste of your time. That's they get all these mentions about Egypt and all that about Africa. That stuff's not reality. It was thousands of years ago. And if you want to know anything about, they talk about how great scientists were. Just go into your regular classroom, look at the chemical chart, and that tell you everything you need to go. Because the best builder in the world is nature. All scientists they with nature, all of them.
Absolutely.
And I want to talk about about you and Tony, something that I see that y'all don't do. When y'all talk on an intellectual level, you have to understand, in any population, not everybody's on y'all level. So y'all just communicating with the people that understand y'all. But like case in point, the shirt that y'all got. People gotta ask you, people gotta come to you, but not everybody know what that means. But y'all have an image that y'all should put on a shirt. I think it's a woman with a baby doing slavery. She is paid or something. Y'all got images that y'all can put on a shirt where will drag attention, where people will come to you. What is that? What is that? Make people uncomfortable. A very popular shirt will do. Y'all, when you advertise stuff, when you put out stuff, you have to put it in movies or anything. You got to put it in all intellectual content. Y'all just dealing on one level. But if you want to deal with massive people, you got to go in the middle. Because most people is in the middle. Not everybody's on top like that. So
well, the reason, but I don't. Let me just say this before I go. I don't think the ADOS hashtag on the shirt is on top. I honestly put it there so people can ask you. Like, nobody knows if they don't know what ADOS is. Nobody knows, like, what is that? Nobody know if they don't, unless they've seen it somewhere. So they say, what is that on your shirt? And it's a billboard for ADOS, and it puts in your mind to use that hashtag if you agree with what we're talking about. So I don't think ADOS is elite or educated or anything like that. I think it's kind of very basic.
I'm just saying imagery is a big thing about putting your stuff out there, because not everybody communicate through that type of level. And when you see a shirt with slaves on it and people in the auction block, if y'all get shirts like that, get a patent for shirts like that, I think that would help communicate and get people to say, where did you get that shirt? What is that? And it'll get them around closer to the thing. That's what also I want to talk about Pan-Africanism and why they're pushing it. The Africans are pushing it because they have nothing. We have something. The biggest come up is to come up on this earth is what we created. ADOS created here. And then we talk about that reparations. Everybody talk about they ain't want it. Let me tell you, if we ever get that reparations back, and they say, well, you get up in line. When you go up in the morning, get in that line, you'll see a whole bunch of white people, bunch of Africans, bunch of immigrants, bunch of Asians. Because I'm telling you, they will be in line before you and ready to fight you to get in there before you. So don't listen to that reparations, because as soon as we bust our butt all kinds of ways to get that stuff, everybody gonna be in line before you fighting for it. All these white people gonna talk about, well, I got some black in me. But guess what?
It don't, but we've already closed that off. You can't say I have some black in me. We've already, if you live a white life, we've already kind of, there's a way to deal with that. So we good on that.
So that's good. But I'm just saying that.
Okay, fam. I got you. I got to get to some other people. But I appreciate you calling in. Thank you so much, fam. I'm gonna try to take one more caller. That's why we gotta keep these things rolling. 601, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
My name is Kimberly A.G. I'm from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. I just want to piggyback on something that the guy just said there.
Okay.
About Jay-Z and Beyonce. Jay-Z and Beyonce, they're business people.
Mm-hmm.
And they're artists. What people don't understand is Jay-Z has been reaching out to the African continent trying to get the talent into the U.S., okay, under his label. Now, he's using Beyonce as a marketing tool to get the people to normalize because he knows she has 1 million of followers.
What do you mean? No, I'm sorry. I'm so lost. I'm lost. Trying to get what now?
Trying to get the African people, the ADOS people in the United States that follow her as their fans to give them that connection to the African continent by bringing them in as artists to fill their pockets. So in other words, he's using Beyonce as a marketing outfront tool to us to put that image in our head.
Okay.
So we will welcome all these Cameroon, Afro beats that's coming up in the African continent. They're not talking about that, but Jay-Z is signing these people and bringing them in and do concerts.
Okay. You said that Jay-Z is bringing them in as part of what he's doing with his business, and she's normalizing.
Correct, on the Rock Nation's label. On the Rock Nation's label.
Okay.
So his wife is the one that's out front, putting the marketing into our head by imagery to get us to connect to this.
Got it.
See, that what he did with that Black is King has nothing to do with the connection of Africa and the United States and the ADOS here. It's a marketing skill is what they're doing. They have no intention.
And you know what?
It's all about the money.
You know what, fam? It would be cheaper for him too, right? Because you could probably pay them less. I remember a story because I try to follow these things. I remember a story Lil Wayne told about how Jay-Z bought him around all these wealthy people, and he thought Jay-Z was going to sign him and offer him some money, and he only offered him like $130,000, something like that, right? So Lil Wayne walked away from it. But if you get somebody who is like some of these people, Afro beats or whatever, given where they come from, they might not have it. So that's a huge amount of money. You could even probably offer them less depending on where they come from, what kind of family they come from, right? So
Thank you.
So that would kind of fit in with, and it would be great for his business to be able to do that and undercut them, and he could build something that he couldn't build here because of ADOS dollars or American dollars, and you can't just come up to Lil Wayne after Lil Wayne done had hits and offer him $130,000 for a deal.
And you have to understand who runs that business in the United States. It's not ADOS.
Yeah.
So he has to go outside to bring people in so he can build that type of money that they already have and that they have no control over.
True.
So think about that. And you go back and you look. He had an artist in Jamaica that he tried to bring in that would sue him over the same thing that he bought him in, and he didn't give him the money that he promised him because he didn't blow up in the United States like he promised him we would. So now he's reaching over to the country, and if you look back these past couple of years, that's why they've been in Africa, normalizing themselves in Africa as business people, and they pulling these artists in, and they bringing them up in the slums and bringing them out into the United States. Beyonce is, like I say, is normalizing it in our eyesight because she has a big following. Everybody loves Beyonce.
Yeah.
So you would never see it coming.
Oh, I never thought about that, family. Thank you. I never thought about that. Did y'all think about that? I didn't think about that.
Just to put something on your mind.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it.
I'm gonna give the people something to go back and watch. And I saw this documentary the other night. I'm a truck driver, so I'm always watching stuff. I'm watching you and watching everything. Now, go watch this documentary on Viceland called Afro Beats. That's what connected me to this connection. When I saw that, I said, there it is, right there. Afro Beats.
Well, thank you, fam. I appreciate it. You know what it is? It's a way for like a black capitalist to exploit labor, because normally they don't have an avenue. Like normally that's exploited between like you get South American. So if you're in music, you can exploit it that's the only avenue to bring poor people in, or people who don't have what we have, is to bring them in through that, because nobody else can do that. I didn't think about that. I did not think about that. That is a very interesting point. What y'all think about that? What do y'all think about that? That is some interesting stuff. So you could probably get them into a contract that you couldn't get an ADOS person in, or somebody who had been immigrated here a while ago in. That's interesting. Well, fam, I'm going to let that be the last call for the night. It's been a treacherous night in terms of the YouTube and trying to take calls and have conversations. We might have to do some more on this because the calls was full. But, it's been a treacherous night. Some people still telling me, messaging me and texting me that they can't get through. They can't see it. They got a black screen. I don't even know how all that stuff happened. It's a wild time. But, as I go out of here, though, one thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put up some images of kind of what I think would have been better images for Beyonce to use, or to kind of, enrich herself in terms of ADOS history. That was a great call right there. That was crazy. But before we go, please hit the like button. Please, if you want to donate, go to donatebrown.com or hit the Cash App or all of that good stuff. Patreon.com/Carnell. The Cash App is $breakingbrown. But cost you no money to hit that like button, hit that subscribe. Please make sure you subscribe. Please make sure that bell is active. And you are set to get that kind of thing. If you didn't get the show, I know a lot of y'all didn't get the show tonight. You said it was black on your screen. I'm sorry. I couldn't figure it out. I don't know what's going on. It's a lot of weird stuff going on right now, though. But I'm going to leave it at that, fam. We will get together soon. Those of you who didn't get through, do not fret. We're going to have additional and more conversations, and we're going to be doing a lot more stuff. So just kind of stay tuned, fam. It's a wild time to be alive, ain't it? Good night, fam. Finish your libations. Go to bed. Get yourself some rest and avoid the COVID.